Welcome back to our masterpiece, the Audi RS6 design course in Blender. We're going to continue designing the rear of the vehicle, so we're going to hide some of these components, mostly so we can just get a better view of the rear components of this vehicle. We're not going to worry too much about the light unit just yet, but we want to continue with the rear door. So using our images today, we can get an understanding of the rest of this vehicle. You can see this light bar. I'm not entirely sure if, this is a full light bar that extends across the vehicle, but there is something there. And obviously I noticed it on the blueprint as well. And we can simply just duplicate these vertices right there. We can duplicate them like that and press G and Z and carry them down just a small amount, not too much, and press P to separate. We're also going to delete those, and then we have this. Now, key thing, it does extend all the way around. That's something important to keep in mind. But also, we probably duplicated too many of these, so let's just delete those. Yeah, like I can see on this side, this sort of extends out there also. Why does that keep on happening? Thought I just deleted these. Okay, that's better. So this sort of feels like it extends out there. So it follows the actual design pattern, like this circular feel for this light unit. We also want to be careful around this area that's not too far out, or perhaps we need to extend this one out. Probably take this one in a little bit. Want to just make sure that that's all level, that it's not uneven. Because if something doesn't feel right, take the time to design it properly. Now, whatever this panel is, we can actually just highlight all of that, just extend it down a little bit like that. Honestly, I don't even think it's that prominent. But don't be afraid to use the internet, use the images that you have at your disposal to get a better understanding. So this is what we're trying to design. So I don't think that's necessarily part of the light unit. Like, it's not a light bar, but it's something, it's there. We may need to see that with the full lights turn on to get an understanding of what it really is. But for now, this will do. This will do fine. And what we actually want to do is simply just to extrude it towards the rear, kind of like that. Honestly, I think these group of vertices, we might need to bring this in, and later on we might need to adjust this slightly so it's a little bit slanted, because this entire thing is a little bit slanted. Even from the top view, you can see it's a bit more obvious that it's a bit slanted. Now, how does that look from a distance? From a distance, it's not too bad. However, I wonder if we can slightly carry that up a little bit. Just take a look right there. We don't want to leave too much gaps in our design. We want to add another line right there. It kind of feels like that. Like, it kind of feels a little bit like that. Like, it's not flat. I don't know if you noticed that. But on this design, it's not flat. It's like bezeled. And we don't really want to bezel it like that. I don't think so. I think that would be probably a little bit unnecessary. But if it's not prominent enough, we can always add another vertex around there, or add something around there. But then it would become a little bit too flat. That's what I'm trying to avoid. We can also use the active elements and sort of scale this back a little bit, but if we're not careful, that could quickly ruin our design, so best not to mess with that. Or we can do it manually. Actually, we could also do it manually, like actually like highlight them all and just gradually carry them back, and that would help giving it that rounded kind of look. And to be honest, I don't think that's too bad. So we're going to continue designing this rear, and this is just finishing the design of the rear door. And then further on from that, we can probably get to the rear bumper. Okay, let's continue with the rear door. You can see we can use this to duplicate those vertices again, extrude downwards, and then it will want to sort of like the door slightly edges out very discreetly, very elegantly. So duplicate these, carry this down, separate, delete those, and we got to be a little bit careful with how we do this, if I'm being completely honest, because we can easily just do something like that, but we want to carry this in. It needs to follow that. And also something else, notice that like lower down, which is around here, this is all tucked in underneath the vehicle. It's not on the same level at all, especially these ones. They're tucked within the vehicle, kind of like that, like underneath the light unit. And then slowly, this part extrude out. But these ones, they're sort of like tucked in, kind of like that. And even following it around, it is still tucked within. So the nice thing about this is that we can use this as sort of like a guide that, you know, these parts are a little bit tucked in underneath the light unit. So it doesn't need to be out there. It needs to be in and around this area. So around there would probably be okay for now. Then we can extrude one more vertex and check out where that is. And again, it's not out there. I'm using this part of the light unit as a guide, that it's not out there. It's kind of like tucked within. But it gradually merges out, you know, it gradually merges out. I think we might be ready to do something with this. But first, let's extrude this that way. Let's add another vertex right there. And like I said, this needs to be in there. So perfect. So if we fill that face right there, you can see how little by little that's starting to make sense. So it gradually comes out, but not quite immediate. This can come out a little bit more. Also this part, these areas, they gradually go out, not so immediate. Even this area right there, perfect. And of course I'm using a little bit of guesswork. Now with this area, can we extrude right there? Naturally, this is all at an angle. Like I said previously, it is at an angle and we need to keep that in mind. I'm wondering if these lines can help us as a guide. They probably can. They probably can. What I'm thinking is, you see this area right there where my mouse is on our image? I'm thinking that's this area. And this area, I'm thinking that's that area. If you look at the light unit design, this little chicane design, you can see it follows the flow of that. This door, the start of the door, should actually be this line. And these should go no further than around there. So if anything, we can actually bring those back a little bit. And this should go further, no further than there. So, okay, I think we have an understanding of that little area. There's also some sharp angle, like crease. There's some crease. Obviously, we already have a lot of creases on the vehicle, and it's an Audi design, so it follows that principle. But if we got this line up correctly, as I believe we do, you can see if you get confused at time with the top blueprint and the side blueprint, sometimes what you have to do is to decide like which one to follow. The thing is that this line right here is following that. So everything going in that general direction at an angle, in that general direction. So looking at it from the rear, you'll be able to make more sense of this. And I think, yeah, I think that should be okay for now. Especially with this part. Like I said, if you find any issues with, you know, the blueprints get a bit confusing and it's like, which one do I trust? Well, because it's the rear, we're going to trust the rear of the vehicle. Now this vertex we just extruded, this one should be out there. So it should be no further than that line. Now, I hope that makes sense. Kind of like this vertex should be no further than that line, which is why I said previously we can actually bring this in a little bit if we wanted to. So I hope that makes some sort of sense. Now what we're going to do, we're going to add some additional vertices, and we're just going to close this in. Highlight all of them using A and press Shift N to set the normals. Now what I'm concerned with is that this is very straight, and it's supposed to be a little bit more curved because it's an Audi design. So let's view this from the top. We want to make sure, right, you can see that these two vertices, they should be a little bit more curved like that. Yeah, something along those lines. I'm concerned about this one a little bit. Let's make sense of where that is. So that one kind of feels like it's out of place. So we're just going to make, straighten up those so it makes a little bit more sense. So you can see that curvature is a lot better now. It actually feels like it's following that principle. You can see on the other side as well just how curved that looks, as it should. And this part further down there, further at the end, that's what you're looking at right there. So I think eventually this is going to extrude out kind of like that. I'm not actually doing this. I'm just testing my theory. But I think this is supposed to be extruded out kind of like that with some crease. But we're not going to keep that. We just want to give you a rough idea of like what's actually happened. So we know there's some crease right around this area. It's very specific to Audi design. So one is this crease. That crease is definitive. We saw it even on that side. It's very definitive. So we want to keep that in mind as we go forward. But to be honest, I don't think there's much else. To be honest, I think this crease it's a little bit extruded. So I have an idea. It's kind of like this crease is a little bit back, then it gets extruded out, and then the rest of the design kind of follows suit, kind of like that. You get what I mean? Like, I'm just giving you a rough idea, but I think it's something like that. So before we continue with the design, just wanted to make it clear like what we're trying to do. Honestly, another thing is with these ones, if we wanted to, with these now, we're going to carry these ones up a little bit. We want to leave room for that crease. We want to keep that in mind. But the nice thing is that once you get this design in place, I think this needs to be a bit more out. But once this is in place and you can see that natural curvature, that's when we can start getting to work. Let's make sure that this is flat. What we're going to do is extrude another vertex and carry this across. Then we're going to extrude again, so pretty much what we already did, and extrude that way. So this might not actually work. Just looking at it to make sense of it, it's like not too sure I'm entirely happy with it. But nevertheless, we can try it. We can fill and fill. Yeah, nevertheless, we can try it and add a crease around there. But these ones, they need to be out there a little bit, in my opinion. You can see that looks pretty good from up above, and then it's this part, and that's the part that extends out. Yeah, kind of like that. Literally, kind of like that. And then we have to extrude once again, and then carry this towards the rear. If we add a vertex right there, we got to carry this one back also. Add another vertex right there and carry this one back also. So it's a little bit like that. But we need to make sure it is all extended. Separate these a little bit, give them some space, keep it keep it healthy. And I wonder if this needs to be brought back quite a bit. Well, technically it does, yeah, but because of how Blender works, might have to compromise right now and see how it looks towards the end. So it's kind of like that. But my question is it really that obvious? That's my question. I don't think it is. I don't think so. I don't think it's that obvious. What if we carry this part back just a bit? I don't think it's that obvious. I think the curvature with this particular door is a bit more, and perhaps we figure it out. Perhaps we need another vertex around there, but carry it down around there. So it's perhaps it's kind of like that. Kind of. And perhaps we need to extend this part out. And same thing with this part. We can extend that part out as well. Because remember now, that crease right there. This is the crease that we spoke about. So if anything, we need another one right there. And we need to sort of carry this part in. That's that crease we spoke about. But I'd argue it's a difficult crease to get right. For one, you can see there's already a crease there without us doing much, but the crease is more obvious on this side. Now this is what concerns me. All of this is what concerns me. It's like, I think a lot of that needs to be a bit more flat. Yeah, needs to be a bit more flat. So we extend it a little bit, that's one. But also this side needs to be extended also. So it's a bit more like that. And perhaps we don't need so many vertices. And perhaps we can carry this down a little bit, kind of like that. What if we brought back everything? How would that look? So what we need now, we need a new angle of the car to confirm this part. Because that's the last part, is that I don't think it's supposed to be that. And if it is, this means that all of these areas, well, mostly this area, needs to be extruded quite a bit more. So it's a bit more like that. But like I said, we don't know yet. So we need some new photos of this vehicle. You know, true to be told, after looking at a quick video, I think it's correct. Which is strange to say. But I think it might be correct. I think what we have already might actually be correct. Crazy. Absolutely mad. Gonna try to work on this crease a little bit, but I think it might be correct already. Okay, that crease looks a lot better. It looks a lot better in my opinion. And then if we wanted to, we could also carry this part in, but also do it from that area as well to give that crease a bit more prominence. Yeah, like I want that crease to be a lot more obvious, you know, so I've got to keep that in mind. But I think what we have so far actually makes a lot of sense. The reason why it doesn't look really nice right now, it is because we haven't designed the rest of the car, like the bumper. The bumper of this Audi actually follows this design. So you see like this indent, it actually follows it, which is really unique. Like all around there, it's actually quite indented. So this thing right here, it's actually quite indented. So I think we actually have it right, which is really good to know that we didn't mess this up. But yeah, looking at some videos, looking at some images, I think we got that part right. And actually, so here's a unique thing. This part of the door, these faces right here, it's actually part of the bumper. It's actually the bumper, but Audi cut into the bumper and made it part of the door, which is why it looks so strange when you don't have the rest of the car modeled just yet. But patience, and we will get there. I'm just looking at this and I just want to extend this a bit more. But I think it's going to look a lot better once we design the rest of the bumper, which is our next challenge, is moving on to the bumper, which you can see I haven't touched this part. I really haven't touched that part because the bumper requires a lot of focus, a lot of patience, very specific detailing. And we want to do it right. There's the bumper, there's the rear diffuser. Oh, that's just beautiful. I mean, as a car enthusiast myself, this is just incredible to just be designing cars. One thing I will say is though, if this doesn't feel like straight enough, like this area right here, we can always straighten it up. If it doesn't feel straight enough, we can always straighten that up a little bit and see how it feels right there. To be honest, something about it that just looks better. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it, like fixing those areas, fixing these ones and that one, something about it just looks better for some reason. Let's make sure we save our work. Please remember to save your work. I save my works in increments, but I am super proud of this design. It's coming along just perfect. Oh, also let's set the origins to geometry. Let's make sure that's correct. So we know that the bumper is our next step. That takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. So I'm going to try to get that done right now. Seeing as we have this momentum, because yeah, we got the drive. Let's get this done. Or at least let's try. If it doesn't work, at least we're going to learn something and then we can try again. We can go for it again. But thank you for watching this episode, and subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in our next video.